Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Florida. And today our question comes to us from Mary. And Mary has this question. Is it possible that sometimes our daydreams or fantasies are actually messages from spirit, delivered through the sides, so to speak, and perhaps in story form? And I approach this question with some circumspection, because although I do think that this is sometimes the case, I also think that one of the biggest problems in metaphysics is mistaking fantasy for reality and mistaking reality for fantasy. And in particular, I think that very often people have very real experiences which they force into a lens of fantasy. And this is why I am so very strong on saying that when you learn to open clairvoyantly, when you learn to bring through messages, that you must bring no judgment to it, that you must not try to analyze it while you're doing it. You can do that after, but you should even then do it with some caution and not try to force it into a preconception, but let it be what it is. And I think very often people come with all kinds of baggage into metaphysics and try to force their experiences into the baggage, rather than realizing that perhaps they should put the baggage down. Now, having said that, and given my little caution on mistaking fantasy for reality and vice versa, I do think that sometimes our daydreams or fantasies can be messages from our higher self or our guides or spirit that our conscious mind is not letting in any other way. I also think that very often they are not. However, they can be. And how do you tell the difference? Well, you tell the difference by learning to open clairvoyantly, learning how to bring through messages, learning how to meditate, and then you will not have so much of a question on the subject. Because when you've learned how to do these things, then you know that you're likely to be getting genuine messages. But when it's just a daydream or a fantasy, it's very hard to tell, but I would say if it's persistent and out of character, then perhaps it's a message. But even so, better to learn how to meditate, to learn how to bring the messages through. And even then you must remember that the messenger can warp the message. But if you practice it with a pure heart and you don't try to force it into preconceptions, you should have a pretty good time of it. So that would be my answer. Yes, this can be the case, but I don't think it's generally the case. I think that it's sometimes the case. And the best way to tell is by not trying to interpret your daydreams, but rather learning how to meditate and actually bring through messages. We talked about that in a recent vlog. And it's not really all that difficult. Certainly not as difficult as people think. The hardest part of it is allowing it to happen and not shutting it down or not dismissing it. But we have instructions for this in the degree books, and you can learn much more about it there, through our classes at witchschool.com, etc. But this would be my recommendation, and this is my answer. I hope you find it helpful, and until next time, may you blessed be. Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you for Pagans Tonight Radio. Pagans Tonight Radio is an online radio network with different hosts and different shows 7 nights a week. There's something for every taste, including Spanish language programming on Saturday evening. Check out paganstonight.com today.